Hello everyone. In this session we will understand about market structure, different kinds of market structures, and what kind of market we generally see in case of healthcare. Um, so why we will require to learn this, this market structure, because whenever we talk about market, it starts with demand and supply, and it talks about the price and then the quantity supplied or quantity demanded. So this is the market structure, and depending upon the price, and the supply and then the demand, the production based upon the cost structure takes place. Therefore, the market determines the scenario of healthcare, be it from the demand side, that is the health seeking behavior or the health status, or be it from the supply side, that is the health services. Therefore, it is very important to learn to gain a knowledge about different types of market structure when we are studying health systems. While studying health systems, since our first discussion, maybe we have learned that health is a kind of market which is accumulated based on several fragmented markets. Like there is a enormous amount of heterogeneity from product to product, from places to places, from community to community, from different diseases to across different diseases. So both the demand and supply framework has been very different. Therefore, this is when to understand the market mechanism of health systems, as well as for the policy makers, it is important that we have proper idea, proper knowledge about the about what happens behind the scene of these health systems in terms of the market. When we talk about the competitions across hospitals, when we talk about the competitions across or among the doctors, when we talk about the shortage of a particular vaccine, when we talk about whether there is oversupply of a particular specialist, say dentists, and then based on that, the entire pricing or the hospital fee, the diagnostic charges, everything is determined whether a particular market, say pharmaceutical market, is open to the international economy. So it is very dynamic in nature. So one must have a solid understanding about different market structure for different healthcare products or healthcare outcomes. So a market structure basically is determined or dependent upon several characteristics. So the characteristics which determine a market structure, not a market, a market structure. If it starts with the number of firms, industries or suppliers. Yes, depending upon how many industries, how many farms, how many suppliers, how many healthcare providers are there, that is the one important characteristics which determine my market structure, that what kind of market it is. That is not sold because we have plenty of things to come. The next one is the nature of the product produced. What kind of product, how whether it is very expensive, very complicated, whether it deals with several other products or byproducts. So in terms of healthcare, whether it requires services of several other paramedic entities. So this product of the nature of the product is also very important to determine the market structure or the characteristics of a particular market. The next is the degree of monopoly power a firm enjoys. This degree of monopoly power means that they have a strong control over the market. They can differentiate price. They are the price makers, so they can determine the price. They can differentiate across the products. They can fragment the market. So this is the monopoly is actually the control the over the firm has over a particular market. And that completely explains that what will be the decision making authority of a particular firm or a group of firms in a particular market. There can be just one firm, there can be multiple firms, and there can be only a few firms, and the monopoly power of each firm out of that, or maybe one firm out of that, or a group of firm out of all these firms will determine that how this market will work and how the price mechanism, how the demand and supply will be made, how the price will be set. The next is profit levels. So whenever we are talking about this degree of monopoly power, we will say the power to influence price, because price gives them the revenue. So this is very, very important, how they influence the price, or what is the influencing power they enjoy. The next one is the profit level they want to keep, whether they are ready to earn on a normal profit level, that is no profit no loss, or kind of when they perform in a break even point where the cost total cost and the revenue are equal, so there is no profit, or they want to make some positive profit. So the profit level and what is their aspiration, what is their target, will determine that what kind of market we are talking about. The next can be firms behavior in pricing strategies, and or the non-price competition or the output levels. Firms behavior, pricing and product strategies. It also includes the output level, whether they are differentiating markets. So it can also be associated with the monopoly power they enjoy, partially, of course, yes. And the extent there is a barrier to entry of that. If a firm wants to enter a particular industry, they may not be entertained, or they may not get the entry. So how far there is a chance that a new firm can join a particular industry, whether there is a barrier, whether there is no barrier, they can just open just register their firms and start operating, or there is no way, even if they try to start operating, but they will get any business because the market is influenced by other players. So even if I try to do it, there is no way that I can make a move forward. So the extent of barriers to entry, and then the impact on efficiency, that how efficiently that market is or the industry, together a number of firms, so how efficiently they are producing the product. So if the market is perfect, we'll learn shortly that what is a perfect market. So if a market is perfect, we say that there is an efficiency, there is an equity in distribution and all this, at the the lowest or no wastage of resources. So this, or more the market gets imperfect, market imperfection arises, then more the market moves towards more of inefficiency or the higher price, and then the output is never justified by the price, or the cost is kept lower, and then to attain a high level of profit, they have kept the price, so which is not an efficient way or efficient economy. Yeah. So the function of price is number one. What it does, it brings the market in equilibrium, so that whenever there is a shortage or supply, shortage or surplus, whenever there is a shortage or surplus, what the price does, it helps the supplier and then the consumer to engage in a bargaining, and that is where if there is a shortage, the price will go up, and if there is a surplus where the supply is more than the demand, the price will go down, because the supplier has to sell their products. So the price actually attains it is flexible, and it helps the market to attain a equilibrium price where the supplier gets a good price, and they can sell what they desire to, where the consumers get what they require or what they wish to get at a particular given price. So that helps us to attain a market equilibrium. The second one is, as a good becomes scarce, the price goes up, and as the good in case of a shortage and surplus, and as a good becomes abundant, then the prices will come down, shortage and surplus. But do they affect the consumers or a market as a whole? Affect the consumers or the suppliers, or here healthcare providers or firms? Yeah, how do these affect? If the supplier wants to make a profit, positive profit, not a normal profit. If they want to make a profit, then whether this if the price comes down at a following its natural behavior to bring in an equilibrium, whether that satisfies the supplier or whether it really satisfies the consumer, because maybe the consumers were wanting the more, but they cannot afford any price more than that, but they didn't get the level of output or the level of health or the service they actually wanted to have, or they have to have. So and that is very, again, very uncertain, because it varies from market to market, it varies from country to country, it varies from socioeconomic group across socioeconomic groups. So the major market structures what we generally find are four in nature. So the first being perfect competition. The second, monopolistic competition. Third, oligopoly. And fourth, monopoly. So these are the basic four market structures. Only this perfect competition can be known as a perfect market, whereas these all three can be clubbed as market imperfection. So what happens is, if I try to plot them in a simpler way, so if I keep here perfect competition, one extreme, another extreme is of course monopoly. We'll learn more about why of course monopoly. So what happens, one over here, competition increases towards this side, and fewer imperfections where from this side to this side we have less competition and greater degree of imperfection. Yes, so and in between there will be first monopolistic competition, and second there will be oligopoly, and if you can, then the third will be duopoly. Now, perfect competition is generally where there is perfect competition across a lot of firms. There's a lot of producers, a lot of sellers, a lot of suppliers, enormous infinity. Whereas in case of monopoly, this is the fast fundamental difference. The mono is one, and monopoly is where there is only one firm. Here multiple firms, empty number of firms. Here only one firm, monopoly. Duo is two firms. So you can see from perfect competition where infinite number of firms to slowly one firm. It is slowly, the competition is decreasing. So, and it works like this. And so whenever we are going towards the right from perfect competition to monopoly, we have from more competition to less competition, and when there is a more competition is higher, of course we will try to have bring more efficiency in my product. The quality will be better, whereas in monopoly, I enjoy the market. Everything is mine, so so the degree of monopoly power slowly, so that the control over the market, maybe because of that, if there is any inefficiency, then inefficiency. So everything increases when I move or decreases, sorry, when everything decreases, so control over the market increases, and then the level of inefficiency probably or most likely, yes, that it decreases from perfect competition towards monopoly slowly from each across each of this, from perfect to monopolistic, monopolistic oligopoly, oligopoly to duopoly, duopoly to monopoly. It's like that. So what are the importance, that to understand that what are the different market structures? That first thing is that consumers have have an idea about why they are being charged differently, and what is the level of competition, and whether that whether there is at all any competition, and whether that competition really determines the price we are paying for our providers towards our provider, because health is a right, and and health is a mix, healthcare market is a mix of public and private market. So, and we really, it's very difficult to understand that whether a particular market really have it's possible, whether is it possible or not, that to have a perfectly competitive market where efficiency is ensured. We'll shortly learn about that. We'll slowly learn about that whether in healthcare market, which kind of market is this. But before that, we'll try to learn about different kind of market in a broad way. So, and this of course these particular market structures have a direct implication on the quality of services or the performance the firms provide to us. That's and when we are talking about this, not only quantity or the accessibility or the affordability, we also talk about the quality of the healthcare services. And then if the market is not perfect, and if that has a serious implication, adverse impact on the performance of those particular healthcare providers, then we need to think about that, because the health is being kept at stake, and the government certainly needs to do anything, or if possible, if the market is not a completely monopolized, then if possible the patients, the consumers will shift to other possible options. And if yes, but if there may not be options, they may not have information. So, so the characteristics of each model are, again, if they, like say, it will determine about the number and size of the firms, the control of the over the price, the control over the output, whether they will do advertisements or not, how will they allure their patients, and then the kind of product they are producing, whether under the same banner they keep it heterogeneous or they will keep homogeneous, or every organization has a niche product or something like that. So, and all this will determine that what is the market structure. In case of perfect competition, the first point is while I discuss about the characteristics of a perfectly competitive market, the characteristics of a perfectly competitive market, then the first point it is of course is one extreme market structure, So, first point is, if you remember, we started with the number of firms. Yeah, so over here also we will say the large number of firms. Yes, and the second point is products are homogeneous. That is same, every single firm produces absolutely similar kind of product, you know. So, and consumer have no preference based on the products, or I will say no preference on a particular firm based on the product characteristics, because all the products are absolutely similar. The third is there is a full freedom of entry and exit. Anybody can enter the market, start the business, anybody can exit if they wish to exit. It's completely free market, you know. Anybody can, if I want to set up a clinic, I can set up a clinic. Yes, and if I, you know, and I have to of course give the same kind of product, and if I want to leave, I can just close the shop. That's all, stop my consultancy business. So, there is an absolute freedom towards entry and exit, and each producer, oh before that, firms are price takers. They have no control over the price they charge. Just for an example, if a particular firm, say if a particular doctor increases his consultancy fee, you know, so everybody will stop going to him. He loses his entire business, because there are 99 more doctors who provide the same treatment at a lower cost. Why will I go to him? So, he loses business. So, he will bring down his price, number one. Number two, if a doctor decreases his price, now all the patients will come to that doctor. Yes, and everyone else in 99 else will find a significant loss in the business. If not, they don't get any business, because the one doctor cannot accommodate all 100 doctors' patients. So, they will have a significant loss in the business. So, what they will do to gain back their customers, they will also decrease the price. But in that way, probably the price will continue decreasing. No, it doesn't happen like that, because the you know, the suppliers, the providers, they have to survive, they have to be in the market, they cannot lose, because in a perfectly competitive market there is no profit, no loss. Normal profit. So, what happens if in this condition they are decreasing the price, then they may make losses. So, slowly everybody will increase the price, because otherwise if some firm they continue keeping a lower price, they may, you know, they may fall back, because they will continuously lose even if they have a higher number. Here we are not discussing about economies of scale. Right. So, they may lose such a number of or continuously considerable amount of loss, which they will not able to make up, and then they will slowly moved out of the market. And each producer sells a very small share of the market, sales a very small share of total market or the industry. Yes, because there are so many producers, so they, like, you know, one particular producer is actually, or one particular seller or one particular provider is actually selling or supplying a very small proportion. Yeah, and then the last one is consumers and producers have perfect knowledge. Both the consumer and the producer has perfect knowledge. Consumer has perfect knowledge about the producer, the quality of the product, the price of the product, how many producer are there, where they are, everything. Similarly, the producer has have a perfect knowledge that how much the consumers are willing to pay, what is the number of consumer I can get. If I lose if I lower my price, how much I am going to get and how much I am going to lose. If I increase my price, what will happen, what others are charging. So they have every single information about the market. So that is a perfect knowledge about the market. So in case of this perfect competition, if we diagrammatically want to represent that, then over here quantity, output, or the sales, and over here cost and revenue. You can keep marginal cost, marginal revenue, total revenue and total cost. And then this is my revenue curve. This is because this is my P, yeah, my price of the product. It doesn't change because everybody is a price taker, not a price maker. Whatever the market is determining, that is the price, and everybody has the same price. Say the best example can be in a perfect location there are around say 20 chai walas, yeah, tea vendors. So if there are 20 tea vendors, nobody will keep their price little high or little low, and probably the quality is also similar. They may not be similar, mostly they are not. Yeah, generally they are not, so it's an extreme case, but still. So the price are generally you find them to be similar. Even in a train you see that several vendors are coming up, but the prices are same. So and then the product has no differentiation. That's what we expect, and we don't have still like and we don't really make a preference that I will get from him or I will get from the other person, because I think that everybody produces the same quality of tea. So similarly over here, price equals marginal revenue and the average revenue. Why marginal revenue? Marginal revenue, if you remember, change in total revenue by change in quantity. Yes, change in total revenue. What is total revenue? Price and quantity. Price is constant, right? So divided by del Q. So price is constant, so it remains out and this two gets cancelled. So your price remains same, because if for every single output your price remains same. And when you are multiplying your total product, this into this, this into this, this into this, total revenue. Yeah, so this is how even the average revenue is just price, because average revenue is nothing but total revenue PQ by Q, which is nothing but the price. So it's a straight line, it remains constant. At the same time, when we estimate the marginal cost and average cost, if you remember, then my marginal cost is something like that, and from where this average marginal cost curve passes through the bottommost point of average cost curve, isn't it? To the minimum point of average cost curve. Yes, so here is the minimum point, and here you will find an intersection of the price, the marginal cost, and then the average cost. Yeah, so and this is my optimal output in a perfectly competitive market, where my P equals MR equals marginal cost. You remember that when we make the maximum profit or the maximum loss, there is basically the difference between total revenue and total cost is maximum, but the the marginal revenue and marginal cost, the slopes, they were same. So over here also we are trying to find this kind of similar condition where my marginal revenue and marginal cost is same, and if they are same, then you can see marginal revenue and marginal cost being same and average cost also in the same point, so I don't make any profit, so my profit is 0. Yes, so this is what happens in a perfectly competitive market, and and anybody, they want to keep the price higher, so naturally it doesn't persist, because over here if they keep the price higher, it will come down because people have information about the price and nobody else increase the price, so they will lose the market. But it is possible, it is possible, because if they charge the price higher, then so they can produce more, but finally they will be over here, so they will lose something, they will lose their product. So even if over here they will intend to produce, but it will be over here, so their average cost is more than the profit, the price, and then they make a loss finally. Thank you.